this is Tom, aka Gedeon, here for Tabletop Tap Room and another edition of Fanzine Friday. This is Fanzine Friday number 48, which means we are doing Frontier Explorer number 23. But before we get to that, I just want to put a plug in. If you are not yet a subscriber of the show, please do consider hitting the like, subscribe, and bell icon. Help me build the channel, helps with the YouTube algorithm. And also, you could consider clicking on the link in the show notes for the Tabletop Tap Room Cafe Press store. Check out our merch. It supports the channel, helps defray the cost. So moving right along, we have the cover of issue 23 of the Frontier Explorer. This is by Scott Mulder, and it's space station themed. And so that means we basically did back-to-back space station themes in issue 22 and 23, because what you get in here is 2 articles on Clarion Station. But we'll get to that. The quote on the cover is, "It's a dangerous business going out of your door." Now, this is obviously, most of you will remember, this is said by Bilbo to Frodo. And since it is a fantasy quote, I'm pretty sure I would not have gone looking for it. So I'm going to blame Tom Stevens for this one. It's one of the quotes he came up with. And Frontier News. So this issue, actually, scroll back to the cover, is Winter 2018. And we see in the news, Frontier News for this issue, that Star Frontier's product release by Wizards of the Coast that they were putting by January of 2018, they were putting up all of the old product releases on drive-thru, so you could get all these legacy content, everything except the 2001 and 2010, but those were licensed, so they didn't get put up. But it's not a great loss. I mean, if you are a completist for your collection, get them off eBay. And we see Frontier Space talked about again. We're going to get a Frontier Space article in here. So Grokh the White One is a piece of fiction by Eric Windsor, and it goes back to the days of Ysarian society before they went into space. So this is kind of an ancient Ysarian legend. And then next up, we have Philip Campanaro with Clarion Station Expanded. He reviews the information we have about Clarion Station and then expands upon that with some really neat stuff. He also details in here some NPCs and new locations, new areas. It talks about the black economy, the Rouse, rodents of unusual size being the Vim, and they're hiding. And so he's picking up on stuff that I've hypothesized on about, the Vim are experiments, lab experiments who get loose and they're hiding in the bowels of the station. And so this is a great article if you're doing any sort of adventure on Clarion Station. We have our comics in Titan Rising, $22.99. You can read that again. Looks like some space combat going on in that. And Star Frontier's races in Frontier Space RPG. So the last issue, we had an announcement about Frontier Space being published. Here's my trusty referee's handbook from Frontier Space. Right now, at the moment, I cannot lay my hands on my player's handbook. It is around here somewhere. Someplace. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. And that is the player's handbook. So, and these actually form, these 2 covers, this is kind of cool. These 2 covers form one image. It's one continuous image from one cover to the next. So that's kind of cool. The player's handbook actually shows 3 of the player character races, and then the other shows some opposition. So after we announced the publication of Frontier Space, I approached Bill Logan. I says, "Hey, can you do a conversion article for people if they want to use the Star Frontiers aliens in Frontier Space?" So this is a conversion article converting Star Frontier setting to be used with the Frontier Space rules. So that's what you have here. Some fresh art of the Yazarian. I like this guy with his cheesy grin. And this is an interesting angle on the Vrusk. Not a fan of that Drolosite. I don't like his face. But we get another Bill Logan illustration here of a weapon. He does these great weapons illustrations. I love them. And some wicked-looking sapphire artwork as well. So next up is 10 Things on Clarion Station. Now, I was inspired by Raging Swan Press. They give away a lot of free PDFs, and it's, they want you to be on the mailing list, the email mailing list, and you're going to get stuff all the time that you can just download. It's pretty cool. So they do these, and of course, it's really about, and by the way, we're now selling this. And so he does great stuff. He's out of Great Britain. I like the guy, but he does these 20 things, be like 20 things found in goblin tunnels, 20 things, 20 campsites in the wilderness, 20, and so I was inspired by that. Now, D&D, of course, is D20. So it makes sense to have a 20 list where you're rolling a D20 and all right, we're going with number 17. But Star Frontiers is D10 based, D10 or D100. And a D100 list can be quite a bit. It can be quite a bit to a D100 list. I've done a few. And so I know sometimes you're like, all right, we need 20 more items for this list to finish it off, and you're like scratching your head. So what I did was just 10 things on Clarion Station. You've got 10 rumors to ruminate about, 10 henchmen for hire. So I just created a suite of henchmen that, they're not, henchmen. I use the word henchman for alliteration. This is not henchmen in the classic D&D sense, but these are NPCs you could hire for your crew or your mission or whatever have you. And like Jim Jitsu here, I love this guy. He's a personal favorite. I actually basically played this character in a play-by-post for a little bit. But Jim Jitsu is a fraud, and he's inspired. His name is actually James Fairchild. His birth name is James Fairchild, and previously he's claimed distant relations with the Fairchilds of Clarion, but his street name on Grand Quivera is Jimmy Fairplay. He was inspired by Jimmy Fairplay, who was on Survivor. And, that guy was a little shifty, and he was manipulating and lying to people all the time. And he was kind of like, and he'd do this thing, weird stuff with his hands. And so he kind of inspired me. And so Jim Jitsu is a little bit of a small-time criminal who's reinvented himself. He did a brief stint in jail, and while he was there, his cellmate was a Drolosite, and his cellmate taught him martial arts because it's to help him defend himself and protect himself in prison. And so he's reinvented himself as a Jim Jitsu martial arts master. And so he has a little dojo on Clarion Station now, and he teaches self-defense classes, except he's teaching these self-defense classes to spouses of some of the spouses of some of the Royal Marines are taking some of these self-defense classes. And he's actually been hitting on the women, the human women. and he has had an affair with the wife of a Royal Marine officer, and so there's a little bit of a story there, and that Royal Marine officer is just about gonna find out and come looking for him. It's not going to be good. Also, he's so cocky that a ground fleet Drolosite who was in ground fleet, sergeant, took him up on his cockiness, walked into the dojo, one punch, knocked him out, laid him out in his own. So this is like a rumor in Clarion Station. So this guy's he's kind of fun, and so he has a reason to. He hasn't. He's not been paying him the rent on his dojo, so he's about to get evicted, and so he's got a reason to get out of town. And I love this. I love this particular character. You get Yo Speedo, or Speed, nicknamed Speed. You've got this B apostrophe ZZ dash K apostrophe EL Versk, but to her friends, she's known as Buzzkill. So just 10 really handy NPCs here. A Dr. Spock, another Versk. I tried to have a nice suite of characters from the classic Core 4. Then you have 10 businesses to browse, and I work up all new businesses, never been seen before, that you can place somewhere on Clarion Station. And then 10 services to see, like, for instance, Customs and Immigration section, weapons check. With the restrictive laws on Clarion, anyone arriving on the station via commercial passenger berth, whether on a freighter or passenger liner, may immediately stop by weapons check and coat check their weapon, their questionable weapons, under a no questions asked policy. The authorities would rather have you just weapons check, just do weapons check. We won't ask any questions. And when you're ready to disembark the station, you take your weapon and go. But while you're here, you got to obey our weapons laws. So if you've got something questionable, you need to take it to weapons check. Sanctuary is a small chapel for meditation. You've got, there's a light crystal sculpture exhibit by a Versk artist. And these exhibits are throughout the public spaces of the Clarion Station. So that's something to see. There's the Royal Marine training simulators, and there's a Royal Marine Museum annex. And so just 10 services to see, 10 things to find. I put a whammy in the 10 things to find, and that is number 8, which is a dirty pair of spacewear. Ooh. And then there's just a variety of weird stuff here, like number 1, inside an air vent behind an access panel is 2D10 kilos of TD19 with a cheap Onisenda detonator. You say, what is an Onisenda detonator? Well, Onisenda is a corporation that does cheap knockoffs, and they don't always work. So apparently this is a defective detonator that never detonated this bomb. It's actually been there. It's got like 10 years worth of dust built up on it, and it's never been found. And so this is something that you could find. And 2D10 kilos worth of TD19 is a lot of explosive. No telling what the player characters will do with that. Number 10 is a discarded but illegal weapon. It appears to have been fired recently. Referee's choice on type of weapon. What are the player characters going to do? Keep on walking. I see nothing. Just keep on walking. Do not pick it up. So there's a variety of things here. And so that was 10 things on Clarion Station. I had a lot of fun writing that particular article. Next is the Ublax Allagi. And this is the Ecology of article by Eric Windsor. And so I did the artwork, actually. These are this creature has this gas bag, And if you shoot them and they explode, they spread spores, so you can have an infection afterwards. And so these are kind of fun. And then at the last minute, I drew this illustration of this Drolocyte trying to fight one of these things with just a knife. And you see that the Ublax is jamming its tentacles into the Drolocyte. So this is a little bit of a desperate battle with just a knife against this thing. And then next up is holidays in the frontier. We review the canon holidays. Now, technically, the only canon holiday is the Grand Celebration. This is detailed in the timeline in Zebulon's Guide. But it's easy to presume that there would be a victory over the Sathar Day in the frontier for the First Sathar War, which they would just call the Sathar War, the Great Sathar War, whatever. They, before there was a World War II, they didn't call World War I World War I. They called it the Great War. So there's a discussion of that. And then Landing Day, again, not technically canon, but it's easy to presume that a lot of planets will commemorate the day that the colonists first landed on the planet. And then there's a discussion here naming several planets and giving some ideas of what that planet's take on it would be. So it's not the same holiday across the frontier. And then we get into these non-canon holidays. This is just stuff I made up. Liberation Day, Piracy Day. Piracy Day is held. It's actually a week-long event. It's kind of reminiscent of Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras meets a bar fight on Dark World Station, and it's a week-long event. And the Malthar presides, and he collects his tribute from all the pirate bands. Founders Day commemorates the founding of the UPF. Exodus Day for the Azarians immigrating to the frontier. Pangalactic Day, Contact Day. Contact Day actually commemorates the discovery by the humans of signals from the Versk and the Drolocytes from Turladrom. And so Contact Day is this thing that was celebrated because this is the first time humanity has encountered alien species, intelligent alien species. So this is a day that would be commemorated. It would be commemorated on Triad, where the three alien species came together, founded a colony to increase understanding and exchange. So it's a holiday potentially on in Cassadine on Triad, potentially on Turladrom, potentially on Clarion. And so Contact Day, Admiral Morgane's birthday is an obvious one. And the Pageant of Religion. This is the only explicitly Rim, sector holiday. And this is set on Osak, and it caters to the Osakar species penchant for weird clothing and individualistic religions. The Osakar go all out with a carnival-like parades, including marches, dances, floats, bands, presenting every known religion in known space. It's carnival meets ecumenical council. It is considered the best time to visit Osak, with many starliners arriving for the festivities. And, and that's really, that would be a great backdrop if you had the player characters. They're on a mission into the Rim and they're visiting the Osakar system. That would be a great backdrop going on at that time for whatever activity, whatever adventure is going down there. Next up is cursed items in the frontier. Now, I had previously written an article called "The Magic of the Frontier," and it was equipment items that would be analogous to some of your classic magic items in D&D. For instance, instead of potions, it was ejectables. You used the hypo spray to inject. So you had that. You had I did some computer programs that were analogous to like scrolls, and so and even I think a treasure maps fit that as well. So I had been thinking about that, and I came up with this list of cursed items, like dud hand grenades. You find a case of hand grenades, you loot it, add it to your equipment list, but they're cursed because you're in combat tossing dud hand grenades that do nothing. So that's kind of fun. Old defective ammo. The ammo is so old it's become defective. That's cursed item. Foul barrel. Miscalibrated sonic emitter head for your sonic swords and sonic knives. Tarnished 20 SEU clip. It has some problems. The contact heads are a little loose. So if you if you clean this, it's like it's not going to work. There's a 50% chance that it's not going to work. It's going to make bad contact. So if you clean it and it has these loose contact heads, the act of cleaning it means still a 30% chance it's not going to work when you seed it into a weapon or a piece of equipment and try to draw the power from it. So I thought that was a fun one. Defective laser weapons, the treasure map gamble, and so this is that was another fun one. It's oh geez, there's we have all these claimed and unclaimed claims from this mining ship. There could be some real pay dirt discoveries out there, but it's a gamble. You don't know. And then we have some nanites, and then the nanite disruption field and scanners, not really a cursed item, but it just seemed logical since we're introducing nanites. You might as well introduce this as a counter to bad nanites. And then you have stalker nanites. It's another countermeasure for the three monkey nanites, and then some plot hooks. And then lastly, for this magazine, we have the Escape Plan comic on the back, episode number 2. So there you have it. Frontier Explorer number 23. The Clarion Station expanded, and 10 Things on Clarion Station were part of that Warriors of White Light challenge that we had in the previous issue. So this was the first installment on that challenge, expanding some of the material, writing new material for running games in the White Light system. This material, taken with everything you got in the Warriors of White Light module that was bundled with the Nighthawks game, gives you a lot of material. Also, this combined with Frontier Explorer number 1 has Planaron Station detail. Planaron Station was the secret pirate asteroid base in the Warriors of White Light module. It's after the pirates are rooted out, it becomes a pay dirt station, mining ore processing station. And since it's right there in the asteroid belt, ships that don't have an orbital processing lab on their ship can bring their ore that they've mined to the station, and the station will process it for a cut of the ore and then pass it on to a waiting freighter who's going to deliver it to Clarion, deliver it to another star system, so on and so forth. So all of these things taken together really give you a solid basis for running an adventure set in the White Light system. And I used to hypothesize about, all right, you've got the Warriors of White Light module, which is all about being part of the Clarion militia. How about a game called the Rogues of White Light instead of Warriors? And I thought that might be fun. There's certainly a lot of scope here for running that type of game. Plus, you get the cursed items. You get a lot of these, holidays, cursed items, new equipment, all this stuff going on. So this is a great issue for your Star Frontiers game. This is Tom, aka Gedeon here, signing out for Tabletop Taproom, the Star Frontiers Gamer. And thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. And I will see you in the frontier.